1:30. How's it going? What's it doing around here?
Boy, this place
Okay.
must be exciting.
All right. Let us get some videos muted there. And get these up here. Who wants to race? All right. So show of hands. Who thinks we should race in today's race? Everybody knows what we're voting on here?
No.
Speed racing. This is the case you're supposed to read for today. The one question in the assignment was, do we race? That's what we're voting on here. All right. So now that everybody's on board, everybody's caught up? This case is about NASCAR. That's the connection to that video we just watched, right? So now that everybody's caught up, do we race? Hands up if you want to race. 10, 11. Okay, so. I think 11. So there was 3 no's, is that right? Who is no? Raise your hand if you don't want to race. We should sum up to 14. 1, 2, okay, then it must have been 12. Great. Mark, why do you want to race?
I mean, looking at the graph and everything, there seems to be no issue why it seems to be favorable in your direction to go racing.
What's that?
It seems to be favorable to go racing.
What do you mean favorable to go racing? I mean, that's what the 12 yeses mean.
Yeah.
But what's behind that favorable?
I mean, the relationship I get between I'm looking at the graph again, trying to figure out why. Because I haven't looked at it in about a week.
Gotcha.
Why it's in use.
Harlan.
Well, I see 2 things in the data. So first, the bulk of the data is between 53 and 82 degrees. So it looks like, based off the data, that any race temperature prior to 52 degrees has very limited chances of failure. So
Okay.
if I say that that's something to take into consideration, then the other thing too is that the team is also pretty successful. So 80% of the time they finish in the top 5. If you race, you take that risk, and I think that if you take that risk, the chances are pretty high of success.
Okay, so what are the chances? So there's something about chances here of if we race. So what did you just say?
I think the chances of racing are pretty high, finishing in the top 5, because
Okay.
80% of the time they finish in the top 5.
80% we finish in the top 5.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Let's see, Samuel. Why did you want to race? You go by Sam or Samuel?
Sam.
Sam.
I said that I wanted to race just largely because it's kind of what Harlan was talking about. Every time that you race, you end up in 80% of the time in the top 5.
Okay.
That was basically what I was basing my decision off of as well.
Gotcha. So 80% of the time we end up in the top 5. And what else is going on around this? Like we've got some data about engine gaskets, but there's also a lot of other stuff happening here. What else is going on with this case? Caroline?
Well, I guess one of my on the data, it looks like I think it's at 53 degrees. I mean, there's 3 head gaskets that blow, and to me, I would want to look into that as potentially an outlier and just understand what was going on with that specific instance.
So we're doing something that's common in data science processes. That's wrong. We've jumped all the way to the data, right? We've not yet understood the context that we're working in, right? So let's think back to the process that we're going through. The first step, business understanding, right? NASCAR is a business, and the decisions that are made from the data are made in that context. What is the business context that we're in here? Rosalind?
Yes, there are sponsorship dollars at stake.
Sponsorship dollars at stake, okay. What are these sponsorship dollars? And are they at stake if we race or if we don't race, right? So there's kind of a Yeah. So what's the sponsorship dollars at stake? What's happening here? Dennis?
So you got the $800,000 oil sponsorship.
$800,000
It's the
oil.
on oil on the engine.
Okay. So what's that?
So the comment in there is that oil sponsors don't want to see engines that are smoking.
Gotcha. Okay. So if we this is really something that if we race and we blow, we lose. If we have to tow the car off the track, we've lost that $800,000 oil sponsorship. Andrew?
Sorry, going back to the chances.
Yep.
So we finished 62.5% of the races,
Okay.
and we'll just say 30% of the races are shown by that chart.
Okay. So you're saying there's 30% of races
That have at
blew a
least
head
one.
gasket.
Yes.
Okay. And so
So this chart doesn't represent 70% of our data.
okay, gotcha. So there's and the other 62.5% we finished.
Yes.
So 92.5% of the races are somehow counted by these two numbers, and there's somehow another 7.5% of the races that we
Possibly.
didn't finish, but it's not because we blew a head gasket. Is that what's happening with that other 7.5%?
Yes.
Okay. So another 7.5% did not finish. Not head gasket. Not gasket related. Okay. Okay, so what else about the context here? We've got this oil sponsorship. We blow the head gasket, we lose the oil sponsorship. What else is out there?
There's a sponsorship if they race at all. The Kono, Roco.
So what's the sponsorship?
So they give 40,000 if they race,
Okay.
and they will lose some of that money if they don't race.
Got it.
Allowed to race. And they also have a tire sponsorship for.
So there's 40,000 sponsorship. And how much of it do they lose if they don't race?
I think they lose their 30,000. So we get back half of the. So they would make 15,000 if they pull out.
They get $15,000 out of the $30,000
Yeah.
from their entry fee.
Okay, so they have a $30,000 entry fee. And this is not really don't race anymore, it's just kind of more details. $30,000 entry fee. And if they don't race, they get 15,000 back. Okay.
And Goodstone has 25,000 back, right?
So this 40,000 is the good stone?
Yeah,
Is that right?
They want 25,000 back if you don't race.
Okay, 25,000 returned if don't race.
They're $80,000 in debt.
$80,000 in debt.
And it's $50,000 if they blow an engine.
Okay, so we blow an engine, we're paying $50,000 out of pocket to get a new engine.
And the 800.
$1,000 if blow an engine. Okay, so and we also lose this.
Yeah, it's a lot more if you blow an engine.
Gotcha. Okay. So Ryan, you said you didn't want to race, and why did you
Because
not want
that
to race?
number.
This number.
Yeah, so 800,000, the probability of blowing an engine right now, I mean, it's hard to tell, but just based off of 7 out of 24, which is around 30%, I was thinking like very rough expected value, and you just expect to lose a lot of money just based on that one incident that could happen.
Okay, so this is if we blow an engine, this is our big loss. What happens if we race and finish in the top 5? Dennis?
You get the $2 million contract.
The $2 million contract. So
Tire contract. The tire sponsorship for the next year.
but this is only for a top 5 finish. So Ryan, does that change your opinion with this $2 million tire sponsorship on the line?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I guess with 80% finish in top 5 and 2 million, so you
80% of 62.5 is 50%.
This, I'm very impressed if you guys are doing these expected value calculations in your head, but frankly, I can't do that. And I don't like it when my students show me up. So let's try to take a little more systematic approach here. Harlan, did you have something you wanted to?
Well, no, I guess just looking at the numbers too. Like, so you have the $2 million tire sponsorship that you can acquire. At the same time, you have all those fees on the right-hand side, so if you didn't race, and you those are liable. So they kind of balance each other out in a way. I see 2 million and 2 million. So like, if you have $800,000 sponsorship at stake, with all the other stuff on the right-hand side, I think they told 2 million each. So I don't know like what's going to be the deciding factor here.
That's a good question. Let's try to break this down.
Yeah.
So our decision here fundamentally comes down to one thing, right? Our decision point is race, don't race, right? This is what we're deciding. Once we do this, then the probabilities take over, right? Once we've chosen our path along this branch, at that point the probabilities take over. So let's get the easy one out of the way. We've already gotten it kind of up here, but let's make it concrete. If we don't race,